food, water, diamonds. You know, the essentials.
The presence of diamonds in our culture is nothing new. The fascination with this brilliant gemstone is not the result of decades of De Beers marketing. Humans have been enthralled with diamonds since its discovery in ancient India. Its presence is strongly reflected in our culture, be it in movies, music, or literature. This fascination that has persisted since the Antiquities, coupled together with humans' desire to explain natural phenomena, has resulted in the creation of some exceptional myths.
A diamond is a chunk of coal that is made good under pressure.
For thousands of years, it was not fully understood how or where diamonds were formed. Today we know that diamonds form beneath thick, ancient continental crust, a fast-moving jet of magma which originates from deep within the Earth's mantle, entrains the diamonds on the way to the Earth's surface, and settle in volcanic pipes and dikes within the Earth's crust. Diamonds are effectively messengers from the mantle. There is plenty that they have told us about the evolution of our planet. However, attempting to answer the question about the origin of diamonds millennia ago took the form of an epic that involved the deities vying for control over all of existence. This story was recorded in the Ranaparishka, a 2nd century AD source of gemological information. The record claims that the rather prideful king of demons, King Barasura, conquered the 3 worlds, air, earth, and the heavens. His lust for power would know no bounds. Not even the wives of the other gods were safe. The other gods realized that King Barasura could not be defeated in combat. They opted to resort to a battle of wits. On a day of sacrifice, the gods asked if he would instead fulfill the role of the sacrificial animal in a purifying fire. King Barasura was flattered, and he agreed. He soon realized during the ceremony that the gods intended to actually sacrifice him. He could have broken the rope that held him down, but instead he went through with the sacrifice. It was his pride that kept him bound to the pyre as he burned to death. His burnt remains turned to gemstones. Diamonds formed from his bones, the rubies from his blood, pearls from his teeth, topaz from his skin, and sapphires from his eyes. Gods, snakes, and goblins made the most of the opportunity and snatched up as many gems as they could. In the chaos that ensued, many of the gems fell to the earth.
Diamonds are to be found only in the darkness of the earth, and truth in the darkness of the mind.
These gems rained from the sky, falling across the subcontinent of India. As time marched on, the diamonds became entrained in the numerous rivers cutting down the landscape. Diamonds were mined from the rivers. With fewer and fewer diamonds recovered, these river diggings were abandoned in favor of more fertile areas. An interesting phenomenon that was observed after returning to the diamond diggings, abandoned due to the low recoveries of diamonds. The miners found that these abandoned mines were repopulated with diamonds. How could this be true? They believed that the stones were inhabited by gods and spirits. So these stones had genders, and by extension they could reproduce. The belief was that male diamonds were pointed, had sharp edges, flat planes, and were bright. The female diamonds were the ones with rounded edges and an overall spherical shape. And the elongated triangular diamonds were the neuters. The reality was that after mining had ceased in these diamond-bearing gravels, the water level would fill the voids dug and soften the hard conglomerate gravel. This would result in the gravels being easier to mine and recover diamonds from. Alternatively, it could have been that the diamond mining techniques and diamond processing technologies could have improved since the closing and reopening of the diggings.
The gem cannot be polished without friction, nor man perfected without trials.
The word diamond is derived from the ancient Greek word adama. The definition for dama meant to conquer or to tame. By adding the negative prefix a, dama becomes adama, which means invincible or unconquerable. So how does one shape an object that was otherwise dubbed unconquerable? With goat's blood, of course. This myth persisted for well over a millennia. The earliest record of this was by Pliny the Elder in around 70 AD. It is unclear as to where he heard this myth. 100 years later, the Greek traveller Pausanias wrote down that diamonds, the hardest of stones, are melted by the blood of the he-goat. Then a medical book called Hortus Sanitatis, or the Garden of Health, which was printed in 1491, would continue to propagate this myth. Later discussions would even include the appropriate diet to make the goat's blood more effective when used to cut diamonds. This myth was rather persistent, and attempts to debunk it continued until the 1850s. So what could be the possible origin for this myth? In lapidary work, small diamond fragments are used to cut other gems. In order to produce these small diamond fragments, one needs to crush larger diamonds while trying to minimize the loss of diamond fragments. It is possible that blood was used in a paste form and applied to the diamond that would be crushed to prevent the fragments from being lost.
And I finally found what I'm destined to mine. I raise up my pickaxe and nod one more time.
As of the 15th century, diamonds would start to consistently flow into the Western world via Venice from the only known source, India. India would hold on to this monopoly until the mid-18th century, until the diamond-rich riverbeds of Brazil were discovered. As the diamond trade between Venice and India increased, the myths about where diamonds were found would be dispelled. One such myth was the Valley of Diamonds and Jewels. This myth, which was told from Aristotle's point of view, goes that his pupil, Alexander the Great, discovered this valley in Khorasan. It was filled with gems and venomous snakes. The only way to retrieve the gems was by dropping meat into the valley. Birds would swoop down and snatch up the gem-covered meat, taking it back to their nests. The birds would then shake off the gems before consuming the meat. People would then retrieve the gems from the nests. The reality was that diamonds were being mined from diamond-rich riverbeds in India. Little did the miners know that these riverbeds were secondary deposits for diamonds. The primary deposits, or the true source of diamonds, would only be discovered during the late 19th century.
And mount on it a setting of gemstones, 4 rows of stones. In the first row there shall be a ruby, a topaz, and an emerald. In the second row a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond.
In the science fiction show Battlestar Galactica, the 12 colonies of man are all but wiped out by a single attack by one of man's own robotic creations, the Cylons. The survivors of the colonies then embark on a search for the fabled 13th colony, which called Earth home. Each of the 12 colonies had its own battlestar. The colony of Caprica has the battlestar Galactica, led by Commander William Adama, who is one of the major protagonists of the show. The show is based off of and explores Judeo-Christian themes. In Judaism, the Kohen Gadol, or the High Priest of Israel, adorned a breastplate known as the Breastplate of Judgment, with 12 different gemstones. Each tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel were represented by a different gemstone, with the name of the tribe carved onto their respective gemstone. The father of all contemporary English Bibles, the King James Bible, published in 1611, described one of the 12 gemstones as being a diamond, but this is highly unlikely. Before diamonds were ever known to exist, The breastplate would first be described in Exodus 28:18, which would have been around 3,500 years ago. In the following centuries, the ancient Hebrew words for some of the gemstone would lose their meaning. As the religious texts were translated from ancient Hebrew to Koine Greek to Latin and finally to English in the early 1600s, many of the translators would have taken creative liberties. Additionally, at around the 6th century BC, India had a monopoly on diamonds. The only diamonds to be exported would have been industrial diamonds. In other words, nothing nearly as large enough to fit the dimensions of one of the gemstones on the breastplate. Another complication was that the technology used to inscribe a diamond had not yet been discovered.
Moenie die duiwel agter die bos gaan haal nie.
Are not only relegated to the classical Antiquities and the Middle Ages. In what is now known as the Republic of South Africa, one myth would be created in the late 19th century by a man with the name of Nicholas Pieter Johannes Janse van Rensburg. He would more practically be known as Sinner, or Seer in English, and would become the prophet of the Boer, the Afrikaans-speaking farmers of southern Africa. One of his prophecies involved the diamond known as the Skarpskorp, or sheep's head. The largest known gem-quality diamond was the Cullinan, which weighed around 3,106.75 carats, valued today at around $2 billion. The Skarpskorp would be 3 times as large as the Cullinan, and be discovered in the western area of the former Transvaal Republic. During 2006, a photo of a large green translucent stone began circulating the internet. It was reported that the stone was recovered in the area formerly known as the Transvaal Republic. Its weight was in excess of 8,000 carats. Could this be? Had the Skarpskorp finally been recovered? The object's owner, Brett Jolly, told the media that he had tested it with an angle grinder, a rather unconventional testing method. Mr. Jolly invited Ernst Blom, the president of the World Federation of Diamond Bursars, to check the authenticity of the supposed diamond. After inspecting the photo, Mr. Blom, whose wit is keener than an angle grinder disc, remarked that it looks like a greenish-colored stone. A diamond that size is rare, but a green diamond, on top of that, makes it doubly rare. Well, no surprises. This was not the diamond that Sinner prophesied. Sinner's Skarpskorp is predicted to be white, not green. And it's supposed to be discovered by 2 brothers, one of which would die from shock realizing what it was. Mr. Jolly does not have a brother. But it mostly failed to fulfill the prophecy, as it wasn't even a diamond. Sinner van Rensburg is one of many diviners. Even to this day, there are individuals that profess they can find diamonds, for a fee of course. Their tools of the divination trade can include sticks, wire, a shotgun, which they balance on the tip of their index finger, or even electronic equipment. Oddly enough, none of these individuals have their own diamond mining operations. I wonder why that is. Alright, thank you for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed this video. If you are interested in learning more about the history and mythology of diamonds, I strongly recommend picking up a copy of Jack Ogden's Diamonds and James Russell's Known Only to Kings, Diamonds in Mythology and Folklore. Are there any myths that you know of? Go ahead and share them below. Like, or may I even dare suggest it, subscribe should you be interested in more content. Cheers.